Is that? What? What makes a company great? What makes a company tick? You know, the companies that have lasted for years and will be around for years to come. At Markel Group, what we found is that it's beyond great product or service. Those are important, sure, but it's really about the people who drive culture, who embody the spirit of the work, and who build lasting relationships across organizations. We're on a journey to tell the stories of those people, the ones who make Markel Group successful. Welcome to Markel Style. Matt, we are back for another Markel Style session. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great today. Always great to be in the studio with you, Ace.
I love it. It's sometimes great to be in the studio with you, Matt. Okay. What's important is the people are enjoying our time hanging out, talking about some of the folks doing incredible work here. We've got, of course, a video version. Folks are tuned in. Some folks are under the illusion that the 30-second snippets that we post to LinkedIn are the entirety of our episodes, and I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. I haven't decided yet, and I don't need you to comment on that. But I think what was really cool is we were just texting with a mutual friend who said she tunes into the podcast version, which is news for some folks. There is a podcast version, so if you are, for instance, Dr. Jim Mumper working out in the morning, perhaps you could tune in that way, or if you're on your morning commute from somewhere to the office, you can tune in to the podcast that way.
That's
as
it.
Well.
And Ace, one of the things I was listening to some of our podcasts, because I wanted to get our numbers up actually. But
thanks, Matt.
I think one thing we could do better is describe some of the visuals. And so maybe we could start with describing my Argyle sweater vest that I'm wearing under the jacket.
I'll offer an alternative is we don't describe the Argyle sweater vest that you're wearing, other than to say Matt is for some reason wearing an Argyle sweater vest and probably appropriately takes a lot of flack for it. There we go. More importantly, we're here today to talk about Michelle Parham, who works out of Georgia for Markel, which is a Markel Group insurance business. And my recollection is Michelle got brought into Markel via acquisitions. Maybe set the scene for us on that front.
Absolutely. So as we've talked about a little bit, go back to Katie Rubino episode if you want the full history. But in 1986, Markel went public at $8.33 a share, raised a few $1 million, and that started a cascade of acquisitions that actually helped Markel grow from a regional transportation insurance company to a global Fortune 500. And it's a beautiful story in how that works. But yeah, Michelle was part of that. In 2011, she worked in an organization down in Georgia, and we actually welcomed them to the family, and she became a Markel employee.
She played a pretty pivotal role in a new partnership for the U.S. business.
Yeah. And so I won't take you down the complex road of what Michelle's team does because it is extremely complex. But what they do is we sell our insurance through a lot of different partners and brokers. And there's a certain type of partner we have called a managing general agent, an MGA. Mm-hmm. And what they essentially do is they underwrite our policies for us in some cases. Now, that's great. But as I said, Markel has a reputation for really disciplined underwriting. And so we have a lot of constraints in addition to the regulatory requirements where you have to make sure the people who are writing a Markel policy are operating at the standards we need.
Her work on the new program administrator that we have was astronomical. It was the work of 2 to 3 people, and she didn't complain. She was newer to the team, but her past experience just helped her excel, and she did a bang-up job.
I don't know how we would have got through it without her. I just don't know.
So, yeah, Michelle's just in the middle of making this partnership work, and she writes a 1,000-page playbook,
I told
essentially.
you it was complex.
A 1,000-page manual with the rules. And, I mean, that in and of itself is an undertaking to make sure the people who are underwriting these policies have a playbook and understand that they're being compliant, and all of the complexity of state regulation varying from state to state. Like, she's encapsulated all of this into a document that I can reference and make sure I'm towing the line appropriately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And she made it searchable in a way that, really hadn't been done before. And then, I don't know when the last time you read a 1,000-page book is, Ace, but I'll go ahead and fall on the sword and say, I don't think I ever have.
It's been a while.
I mean, I've written 2 and they're only 100 pages each. So
I've read your books like 3 or 4 times and that's still not 1,000 pages.
You know what? You're welcome for that. And so here's the deal. You can't just hand somebody a 1,000-page manual and be like, you guys good.
Yeah.
So what you got to do is really engage with them. And it's a lot of hours of training them and making sure they understand, here's how we do it, taking questions from them. And so Michelle played a big role.
I mean, we're talking 3-hour meetings several times a week and just talk through mechanics and complexity.
Yeah. And what that does is now we've got a partner, by the way, who came back and gave feedback to Michelle's team and said, actually, our team is doing their job better, full stop. Not just doing their job better for Markel, but Michelle actually helped that partner become better underwriters in a lot of ways, which if that doesn't speak volumes to what she was doing, I don't know what does.
I mean, it is no surprise to me that Michelle Parham won a Markel Style Award. And what I want to know when we hear stories like this, when you and I get to share stories like this, is like, what's the provenance of that drive, that hustle, I'm going to go get it done. And, as we did interviews across Markel, some of the things said about Michelle is like, she delivers, she gets the job done. Like she is the reason this work got done. She's the reason that was successful, unsolicited. Kudos and praise come in for Michelle. But like, what drives Michelle? Where'd that come from? And like, how she keep that energy up is, I think, my big question for how we might emulate some of that behavior.
Yeah. Well, I think first my big question is how you're not reading 1,000-page books by using words like provenance. That's a very fancy word, sir.
I'm not at liberty to comment on that. And it certainly wasn't from reading your book, Matt. Carry on.
Well, Ace, it all started in 2012.
That's light for history from Matt Johnson, to be clear. 2012.
2012. And it's a really beautiful story in a lot of ways, because basically what happened is Michelle unfortunately had sciatica and had to have back surgery, was in a lot of pain, and she described something that happened when she was recovering from that surgery.
In 2012, I had some problems with my back and I had sciatica. And I had gotten to the point where I'd always put my life around my kids, which is fine, we all do that. And I looked at myself in a picture one time. I got the sciatica, I looked at myself in the picture and I was way overweight. I took a look in the mirror and said, you gotta change.
So she gets a personal trainer.
Yeah.
She loses 100 pounds. She joins a gym, finds community of people at that gym. That community up and kind of migrates to a CrossFit gym, and now Michelle's going to CrossFit 5 times a week, and like it is a source of energy for her.
Ever since I started CrossFit, it's like given me a new lease on life, that I do it 5 days a week. I'm crazy, I know. People look at me like, what is wrong with you? But I love it, and it's what drives me every day. And I have pushed myself to places that I never thought that I could go, just because of the drive and the determination and everything that associates with cross training also associates with my job. So,
Blaze, I feel like I say this every episode.
We might, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
It absolutely does. If that's not inspiring, I don't know what is, because this company was built by people who have grit and determination like Michelle, and we are so proud that she's part of the family.
Well, I think that wraps us up here. Matt, appreciate you joining. We will see everybody back for the next Markel Style Session episode.